You are watching the HALLOWMORTIS YouTube channel. Welcome to the video. I will introduce you to all of the parts of Battletech, teach you one painting technique that will change how you paint forever, and show you everything you need to start playing. I paid £25 for this box. I waited until a set was on discount and it happened to be a Comstar Battle Level 2. I wasn't picky. The box contains 6 mechs ready to play straight out of the box. However, I like to paint my miniatures, so a little preparation is required. The other thing I got was all of the paper bits from the starter set off someone who only wanted the abridged rulebook and the miniatures. I was only interested in the full rulebook. I was quite particular to get the original cover art version, which was £15. I don't necessarily recommend buying exactly what I bought, I just got the things that looked interesting to me at the time. The stack of paper included cardboard mech standees to take the place of miniatures, 2 paper game boards to play on, a primer booklet which I considered to be advertising material for the Battletech branding, and possibly most interesting, a book. A short story / novella printed as a paperback book, likely intended to be a gateway into the genre fiction of the Battletech universe. I will come back to all this stuff later, because first I want to paint those miniatures. These plastic mechs are made of PVC, which doesn't hold detail as well as the HIPS plastic used by other manufacturers. Although these miniatures have already been assembled in China, mould lines from where the 2 parts of the mould met, and a number of casting defects remain. The manufacturer has videos of the assembly process on YouTube. Fortunately, I know how to fix the problems with the models. Using a scalpel, I neatly sliced off the mould lines. The pockets caused by the plastic shrinkage, I filled in with HIPS plastic melted in solvent to be a goopy consistency. As the PVC isn't melted by the same solvent, the model is safe. I removed the excess with a scalpel. The models have also been assembled with black hexagonal bases. In the game, it is important to know which mech miniature corresponds with which record sheet and rules, which isn't self-explanatory for the uninitiated. I used software called MegaMech to print off the record sheets. Most mechs have a 2 or 3 letter code. I wanted all of my mechs to be clear for myself, and for my opponent, and for my collection. I designed a 2-piece base, the main hexagonal shape that is the same every time, and a small nameplate with the correct code, which I then 3D printed. First, however, I needed to remove the models from the bases, from which I don't think they were designed to be removed. Do not forget to be mindful and patient. It was November 2023. My local game store had a demonstrations day, which I went to with my father. I had no intention of picking up a new game system. To go for a demo alongside someone you know is a good way of sharing your hobby without the asymmetry of sharing a game into which you are already invested. I took the opportunity to try a number of game systems. There is a lot of value in having tried something at least once. For my Battletech demo, it was 1 mech versus 1 mech on an empty mat. I charged in and my mech was shot in the head, instantly killing me. I was sold. Everyone was very generous, but I wanted to put in the effort to having painted my own figures. I want to thank Alex for hosting my demo game. I first applied a basing mix of acrylic paint and builder's sand, mixed 50-50. Remember that Battletech is in a 6mm scale, that is to say that an average human is 6mm tall. This is equal to 1 to 285 scale. I sprayed the mechs with a can of white primer for the paint to adhere. Over the white, I sprayed cyan ink through my airbrush. I then added red ink to the cyan to create a dark purple for the shadows. On the first layer, the cyan ink seemed to bead up a little around the edges. If this happens, don't worry. Adding additional layers fixes this. To protect the ink layer, I sprayed on a layer of varnish before moving to brush painting. I used acrylic paint to block in the other colours. I used Vallejo acrylic metal colour white aluminium for the metal. If you watch a lot of paint reviews, you will think this metal range is the best thing since sliced bread, and I don't disagree. I used green to mark out the windows and red for the lasers. Complementary colours used sparingly. The trick I used to enhance the purple gradient of the shadows was I glazed fluorescent magenta into the purple to create a stronger colour transition. I blacked out the base and the base rim with black paint. To protect all this acrylic paint from the next step, I varnished again with satin varnish. To give the model sharp shadows, I created an oil wash from black oil paint and white spirit for panel lining, making sure to get it in all the cracks and where all the panels meet on the model. After leaving the oil to dry, I got pastel blue acrylic paint and edge highlighted all of the prominent panels, repeating on the sharpest edges with a near white. This step is small, but really makes all the difference. I give a final satin varnish to protect the figures. And with that, the figures were done. Imagine you had the ability to choose one book, and I could guarantee that thousands, even tens of thousands of people who hardly ever read would be willing to give it a try. And if they liked it, they would easily be transformed into lifelong readers. And more specifically, they would become readers and lovers of the same small niche that you are passionate about. Now imagine that you had to write that book. Now having the figures ready for a game, I wanted to take a closer look at the primer and at that book. The primer is a consumer-facing introduction to the Battletech branding, primarily representing each faction surrounded by a cacophony of artwork. The booklet ends with an advertisement for the Battletech novels. Fair enough. It is time for a book review. The rules are simple. I obtain a book, I read a book from the first page to the last page. I think about what I read, I concisely write what I think, I give a score between -1 and 1. The book is titled Battletech Ice Storm, authored by William H. Keith, written in English, published in 2019 by Catalyst Game Labs. After reading, I wrote the review. Word soup, nonsense info dump, doesn't explain important things, zero-dimensional characters, repeats unnecessarily, senseless, tactless, short. In light of this, I gave a value between -1 and 1 of -0.18. So I hope you enjoyed my review. I am quite humoured by how much my former self managed to dislike it. It is unfortunate because I was looking forward to recommending a hidden gem. And I think battle mechs can be a means of telling a story. But if they are a means of telling a story, then there has to be a story. And there is going to be something that story is about which is distinctly not battle mechs. It's missing the forest for the trees.
For in a month or two, we'll bid farewell to Cadet Grey and on the Army Blue. Army Blue, hurrah for the Army Blue. We'll bid farewell to Cadet Grey and on the Army Blue.
This is the second YouTube video on my channel. Thank you for watching.